Hey art snackers, do you want to add new dimension and fun effects to your acrylic paintings? Well, you're in the right place because in this video I'm going to show you the perfect paint and the perfect tools for the job. Welcome to Hot in the Shop. This is a series where we take a closer look into featured art supplies that are available in the ArtSnacks shop. But first, if you're new here, I'm Jenny from an Artfully Lived Life. I'm a mixed media artist and I love to play with art supplies. Oh, and stick around to the end of the video and I'll tell you how you can get 15% off all the supplies I use in today's video. Let's bring in the Sennelier Abstract Soft Body Matte Acrylic Paints. You can tell right off the bat that these are different than other acrylics. Not only do they have a matte finish as it says right there on the packaging, but they come in a squeeze pouch. This is beneficial in a couple of ways. For example, the pouch is semi-transparent, so you can actually kind of see how much you have left, plus you can squeeze out every last possible drop. And the matching accessory for this paint is the Sennelier Abstract Acrylic Paint Tips. These tips come in a package of 8, and they're specifically designed to attach to the Sennelier Abstract Acrylic Paint pouches. All you have to do is unscrew the cap off the paint, then screw the tip of your choice back on. Now, I don't usually do swatches in this series of videos, but I do want to show you the variety of marks that you can make with the combination of the paints and the tips. This first one I'm showing you is a single small round opening at the end of the tip. It's great for making a single thin line, or you can create this kind of beaded texture that I'm doing right now. You can make small little single dots, or you can even write with it. What you're looking at on screen right now is sped up 6 times the actual speed, and we're going to keep that speed for the rest of these swatches. This tip has 2 small round openings the same size as the first one, and this one has 3. I want to point out the texture that these paints are leaving on the paper. They're soft body paints, but they will not level out, so you can use the dimension they create to your advantage. You'll also find 3 tips with rectangle openings. This is the small one. Then we have the medium rectangle tip. Using these different tips and squeezing out the paint reminds me of cake decorating. And here's the large rectangle. At this point, I hope you're starting to see some possibilities you can create with all these textures and shapes. The 7th tip in this set has a single round medium opening. Last but not least is the tip with the large round single opening. Before we get into my example of what we can do with these paints, which is really just one idea out of many, I would love to know what you would do with these paints and tips. And if you've already received them from one of the ArtSnacks boxes, let us know what you created and how you liked them. Either way, just leave your thoughts in the comment section below. In a previous video, I showed you how to paint a wave with these paints using loose brush strokes. Today though, we're getting more stylized with some folk art. I'll be using the Clairefontaine PaintOn White mixed media paper for my surface. I taped a sheet down with some ArtSnacks washi. Used white and yellow to get a creamy pastel yellow color that I mixed up on the Jack Richeson Gray Matters paper palette. Then I painted it on the paper using the KINGART Radient Taklon brush oval wash size 1/2 inch and covered the entire sheet. I wanted to make this page full of butterflies and moths, so I sketched out a few basic shapes and chose my favorites. Then created the whole design around those and transferred it to the painted sheet. My plan is to paint in most of these butterflies and flowers with pastel colors, and then come back with the paint straight out of the pouch to add in details. I started off by mixing a light blue with a whole lot of white, a little bit of blue, and a touch of red. And I used that to fill in various shapes throughout the page. And don't forget, you can always use the opposite end of your brush to create little dots. Moving on to the violet shades, I just used that same puddle of light blue and added more red to get that pastel violet. I also mixed up a medium tone violet and a dark one so I could have some nice variety. You can see those 3 puddles of violet over on the palette on the right. The lightest one is mostly off camera, however you can see a little bit there on the screen. The differences in those 3 tones show up really well in this flower. I think part of the charm of folk art is that you are breaking down objects into simple shapes, and then you come in with decorative elements to bring the details back in. A lot of it is also repeating shapes, repeating decorative elements, and repeating colors. This yellow flowerish sun thing that I have on top really was meant to represent the sun. That's why you see them starting off with yellow. I also put it in a pastel orange. And finally, the very lightest pastel orange. At this point, you may have noticed that I mixed up some light pink and added it to some of the butterflies and a few of the flowers. I also used the pastel orange on the flowers and butterflies. Since I already had a pouch of green, I didn't bother with mixing that up. However, I did add quite a bit of white to lighten it up. I used it on all of my leaves. I just picked up a tiny bit on the tip of that brush, then pressed the brush down on the paper sideways, and it made perfect one-stroke leaves. Now comes the fun part. We get to put the tips on the pouches and add those details. Oh, wait, I gotta add a few strokes of white onto that main butterfly. Okay, now we're back on track. That blue is our darkest color, so I know it's gonna add some nice contrast. I did try to use that small single round tip for some outlining, but ultimately I wasn't really pleased with it. I just didn't think my hand was steady enough. And even though that thin line still looks a little unsteady, it works much better on the inside of the butterflies and the flowers than as an outline. By now, that outline is just driving me nuts. I took the very edge of my clean brush and pulled some of that paint inward, and I'm much more pleased with this result. The tip with the 3 small openings worked great for detail on the butterflies, although sometimes it got a little messy. Once I start adding the green single lines, I can really start to see this come together. You're gonna see that I jump around with the colors and with the tips that I use. Here's a little tip that you might find helpful. Have a second water jar nearby so that when you get done with a tip on one color, you can just throw the tip into the water. This allows you to go on to another tip. However, if you want to use that same tip only on another color, you will have to go and rinse it out. Unless, of course, you have a couple packs of these. That might come in handy. I covered up the little blob in the middle of the sun with a white spiral and filled in the rest of it with dashes and dots. And I filled in the purple flower on the bottom as well. I wasn't a huge fan of those yellow dots, so I covered them up with white. The tips with the rectangle openings are perfect for making dashes. They're great for stripes and oblong marks. They even work really well for small petals and leaves. The only thing that was really left were the antennae on the butterflies. The only other paint color that was left was the red, and that just didn't feel right. So I decided to use a KINGART inkline pen in size 05. I gotta say, I am pretty impressed with these pens. I've used them a couple times in this video series, and they're holding up really well. They worked really smoothly going over that base color of yellow paint. So I continued to use it to outline everything, and it handled the textured paint wonderfully. I hope you've enjoyed this video. All the supplies I've used today can be found in a link in the description box below. And to get 15% off these select products, just use coupon code HOT15 at checkout. While you're here, don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe for more videos, join us for free over on Mix, and follow ArtSnacks on social media.